I dedicate this video to every girl who got in trouble during parent-teacher conferences for talking too much, because that was definitely me. What's up, little sis? My name is Rima, and you are now tuned in to the Arab and Thriving show. Today, I want to talk about just owning your voice and my 2024 motto, which for me is never shut up. People who know me would think it's so ironic because they're like,
girl, you never shut up anyway, like you talk so much.
And I actually want to talk about that because I have always been a talker. I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of things that I like to express. It made me insecure. I know that they didn't intend to make me feel insecure, but it made me feel insecure. Like, oh, do people not like what I have to say? Like, I just got in my head about it. It translated to the way that I approached my career as a content creator. I'm 31 years old. So when I was in middle school and high school, and I've always created content with an audience in mind, I never understood that it was a thing or even a viable career path. I always wanted to be a journalist. That was kind of my dream growing up. When I look back on my life, I very much so was a content creator. I always wanted a platform. Up until maybe this past year, I stopped being ashamed, thanks to my husband actually, to actually admit that I want a platform. I just think back to like when I was in 4th and 5th grade. Our elementary school had this like team of reporters, and every day we would get up and be in this, I think it was only every Friday, we would go to the principal's office and they would do this broadcast where we like share the school news with the whole school. And I just loved being a reporter and having my face on camera and being able to like share valuable things to my audience. In high school, I was always creating things. I started a blog that I would just like show to my friends. I started a journal that I would write in, but I would like have my friends read my journal, which is like weird for people, but I always felt this need to share and self-express. Even with all these moments where I'm creating content and sharing, I felt uncomfortable saying that I wanted to be the face of a brand. I felt uncomfortable saying that I want people to listen because I like what I have to say and I have things that I want to share. So I'd always kind of share here and there on my own personal platforms, but for the longest time I would hide behind these brand names that I would create or co-create so that I can get my message out without looking like I'm self-centered, wanting things to come from my mouth. And it wasn't until I married Ahmed, my husband, who is an actor, where he was just like, I see it in you. Like, you want a platform. You want to be a creator. You want to grow an audience. Why are you acting so shy? So I reflected on it a lot. And a lot of it has to do with this fear of judgment, this fear of not being understood by people, this fear of saying things in a way that could be misconstrued, this fear of coming off like I'm too confident, which I have a video on. If there's one thing I could give advice on, it's just like the fear of looking too confident. I hate that because that's literally the epitome of letting people dim your light. The reason that my motto this year is never shut up is because I feel like I've spent so many years holding myself back. I've always had so much to say. I've always found ways to self-express, even if it's just in my notes section or things that I write in private. But I've stopped myself from bringing that into the world through things like this YouTube video because I constantly kept second guessing if people are gonna receive what it is that I'm saying. So it took over a year for me to do the self-work that I'm hoping I can help you do, where it's like, what is the worst that can happen? Sometimes you imagine that, like, you know how therapists have you go through that activity. Sometimes you go through it and you're like, yo, the worst that could happen is like pretty scary. And that's true. Sometimes the worst thing that could happen is people, you know, in this case, people have hate comments that are really mean, or they point out something that you're already insecure about, or your video doesn't do well and nobody cares. And imagining that thing happening from my experience, because sometimes it really does happen, it is so much worse in your anxious imagination than it actually is when it plays out. When it plays out, you learn, okay, yeah, that didn't feel the best, but you're able to get through it. And so it just begs the question, like, I'm trying to avoid all of this fear of failure and pain. The way that it feels in my imagination is way worse than how it would actually feel if I were to really experience it. So I'm not actually avoiding that feeling at all. I'm experiencing it without taking the action that would lead to it, right? And to me, that's the worst part. Is I've gotten to a point in my life where the fear of inaction has surpassed finally the fear of judgment and the fear of failure. I think like it's a combination of like lessening the fear of judgment, it's still there, but also like there's this hunger and this desire for me to maximize my life now that I know what I want, and now that I know what I love, and now that I have scraped and peeled back the feelings of shame around what I actually want in life, I'm like, wow, there is a lot of shame that is just kind of like, imagine like layers of dust on something. Like the shame is just clouding the real desire and passion that I have for this thing. As I was writing notes for this video, and if you see me glance over ever, that's all I'm doing is just looking at my notes, because your girl can talk and I still like to stay on topic. But as I was writing out my notes, that's when it dawned on me that like, oh yeah, you did used to do that in 4th grade and 5th grade. Like I completely forgot that I'd ever done that. That I was in front of the camera, in front of an audience of like kids my age, which is typically the scariest audience that you could possibly have. And I'm like, wow, I've always wanted this. I've always wanted a platform. I've like spent decades of my life telling myself it's wrong to want stuff like that. Now that I'm able to realize that, I can focus on scraping back and peeling back those layers, that dust. And now that I've dusted the dust and got rid of it, it's so clear to me that this is what I want. And I cannot describe to you how beautiful that feeling is of like, oh, this is what you want your life to be like. You want this for your life. But also how much more hungry you become to make sure you're doing that and walking in alignment with that. And so that's where I'm at in life. And that's what I want for you, is to get to a place where the fear of judgment might still be there for sure. It is absolutely still there for me. But the hunger is like so much louder, where you're like, this is my life. I don't want to get to 80 years old and look back and realize I let some like random ass person that I'm thinking of in the back of my head from my high school, their perceived judgment that I don't even know if they're even paying attention to me, but the perception that they're judging me, I let that, just the thought, a stupid thought that probably isn't true, I let a stupid thought stop me from pursuing what I desired the most in life. And I just want to let that sit. We are letting thoughts, these little thought bubbles that could just be popped with a pin, we're letting those things that are like, they're not even tangible, we're letting them feel like bricks, like they feel so heavy and they feel so hard and they feel so just solid, you know, rock solid. We're treating them like these barriers, but these barriers are so invisible. And it's such an empowering, liberating feeling to realize, like, just as I can have a thought like this, I can create a thought like that. Which thought do I want to listen to? I'm not like trying to downplay your fear of failure. When you grow up in a community of people who know your dad and mom, and like everyone knows everyone and everyone's in everyone's business, it feels very suffocating. For me, the fear of failure was real. I'm not just some normal high schooler. I'm about to try to do something in high school or in college, and everyone from back home is not only judging me about what I'm doing, whether positively or negatively or both, they're looking at my family like, oh, do they know their daughter is up on YouTube trying to make videos? Random chatter that, as much as it seems stupid to think about, those conversations do happen. I've been part of them. I've experienced people screenshotting someone's video and sending it in a group chat and making fun of them. Like, I am not here to gaslight you about that fear being real. I am not here to tell you people will not judge you, because they will. What I'm trying to get you to think about, and what I literally wish, I don't have any regrets, but if I were to have a regret, it would be that I understood this sooner. What I want you to realize is, what is scarier? The fear of that failure and that judgment, or the fear of not taking action towards something you really, really want? Let's leave the motivational stuff aside. As a big sis, like, this is the approach I try to take with my little sister and with people that ask me for advice. Let's just speak from a practical standpoint. If you let the fear of failure stop you, you don't do anything, right? So let's say you want to start a YouTube channel. Let's say you want to become a content creator. You let the fear of failure stop you. You don't know what would have happened. So of course there's the what if piece, but that's like the more motivational piece of like, you're just gonna keep asking yourself what if. What I'm more interested in saying though is, you don't put the video out there. You have no idea what would have happened if you did. You have no idea if the anxiety that you were feeling would even have come to fruition to begin with, because you didn't even put yourself out there to fail, right? Let's say in scenario B, you do put the video out there, and let's say it does flop, or whatever it is that you're afraid of. You do have people, your random aunt, when you go to like your family gathering, is asking you like, Shamtam, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Whatever the fear is that's in your head, let's say that that does happen. Number one, you're able to give yourself a chance to assess if that thing is actually as scary as you have it in your head. Okay, so the monster is like brought to life. It's not just living in your head rent free, okay, because it's living regardless. I want you to know that, like, it is alive regardless, whether you post the video or not, the monster is there. But in scenario 2, you're able to confront the monster head on, and I promise you, I don't even want to say 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, unless you end up dying somehow, that monster is not as scary as you had it made it out to be in your head. So in scenario B, even with the failure that you're afraid of, you're able to see that, wow, these anxieties are not as crazy in real life. And that will translate to other areas of your life where you're anxious. Like, you will viscerally learn that. Your body will retain that lesson. Like, oh, I was so scared to do that thing, and I did it. And I did get hate comments, but I remember, like, it wasn't that bad. I was just able to block that person. Or someone from my past did confront me about what I said. And honestly, we had a conversation, and they were mad, but it was okay, right? And notice I'm giving you realistic scenarios. I'm not saying like they confronted me and then we became best friends. I'm not trying to gaslight you. I'm trying to let you know that even when things don't play out favorably, they're still more favorable than the way that you imagine them to be. So the first piece to keep in mind is you're able to bring those anxieties to life, address them head on, and learn that it's never as freaking scary as you think it is. Number 2, you post the video in the same scenario B. Things don't work out the way you would like them to work out. Your fears come to life. You have created momentum. This is the piece that I just like want to stress so much. It is so much easier to go and be consistent and keep posting and have something pop off the way you want it to, or reach the audience that you want from a place of action. It is so freaking difficult to ever get to that point if you are paralyzed in inaction. So even in the case where you post the video and it flops, I don't ever want you to mistake that for a step backwards. It's not. It's still a step forward, because even though you don't like the results that you got from it, you are able to learn from that and keep moving forward. And even if there's nothing to freaking learn from that, you still have forward movement. You still have energy and momentum that you put towards an action. And now that second video is going to be so much easier for you to make and post because you've already broken that seal of inaction. Ask yourself, what is it that you're scared of? Like, maybe you need to journal about this. What am I actually scared of? I'll be real with you. Like, I'm still scared. I'm still scared. I started posting my ass off on TikTok this past year. I was still scared that I was gonna flop. I was still scared that I was not doing things perfectly, or I wasn't representing myself in a way that I would be proud of in 5 years or whatever. Like, I don't know what the hell. It's hard for me to even think back on what my fears were because they ended up all being fake. They freaking dissolved so fast. And I was able to grow. Now I'm almost at 25K. I don't know exactly the following. I'm still scared of the way that I'm perceived. I'm still scared that people aren't gonna like certain things that I say. But I am so grateful that I stopped letting that fear stand in the way of me doing what I love, because now I have something to show for it. This whole like never shut up came from a place of like, people wanna hear what you have to say. Look, 23,000 people follow you. They wanna hear what you have to say. So sometimes just seeing that number to me is a healthy reminder that something that you originally never thought would be possible for you is very much so possible and growing and thriving by the day. Keep going. Keep focusing on what you want. Keep taking action towards your desires. Keep defying your fears and your anxieties and just creating from a place of purpose and alignment. Ask yourself what you are most afraid of. Bring it to life. I really want you to think about what you are more afraid of. Letting that thing that you've written out stop you, or that thing. I'm willing to bet that if you're watching this video, the reality is you're more afraid of letting that thing stop you. And it took for me to put it this way for you to even realize that you were letting that thing stop you. But it's so important to get real with yourself and say, like, acknowledge, like, yeah, I am scared of that. That does feel really anxiety inducing for me. I am terrified of their judgment, but especially because I'm scared of their judgment, I don't want them to stop me. So please take action towards one thing this week. That's your homework. I don't know if I like giving homework. Take action towards one thing this week. Write down what it is that's scaring you and promise yourself, make a commitment to yourself that you are going to take action in a way that brings that fear to life potentially and shows you firsthand that it is not nearly as scary as you thought. I love you so, so much. If you like this video, let me know if there are other topics kind of within this area that you want me to cover. I am just so excited for you. And as always, stay powerful, my loves.